Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you actually felt good? Not productive, not busy, not grinding through it, but actually physically good, rested, clear headed, present in your body. Not dragging yourself from one thing to the next one on caffeine and willpower. Take a second with that. For a lot of us brothers, myself included, at certain seasons, that question is harder to answer than it should be. We get so locked into the output, the goals, the building, the providing, that the body just becomes a vehicle we run into the ground trying to get there. And I get it. I've been there. The mentality that rest is for when you make it, that sleep is negotiable, that the gym will happen after everything else gets done, which means it almost never happens. That the headaches, the fatigue, the brain fog, the irritability are just the price of ambition. They're not the price of ambition. These are warning signs. They're like red flags on your journey. And today, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about your body, not as a vanity project, not as a fitness conversation, as an infrastructure your entire life runs on. And what happens to every other area of your life when the infrastructure is neglected. This is Sauna IE. I'm XO. Man, pull up a seat. Let's have a real talk. And we back, and we back, and we back, and we back. Here's the thing about the body that most of us were never taught. It is not just a physical machine that carries your brain from meeting to meeting. It is a recording device. Every stressor you have absorbed, whether that's financial pressure, relational tension, racial stress, work demands, the weight of providing, the hypervigilance of navigating the world as a Black man, your body has been keeping score of all of it. Not in your journal, not in your memories, in your nervous system, in your cortisol levels, in your sleep quality, in your cardiovascular health, as well as in your immune function. The body keeps score whether you're paying attention to it or not. And ambitious men who are locked into achievement mode, who have learned to push through discomfort, who pride themselves on not stopping, are often the worst at reading the signals their body is sending. Research from MIDIS, a major longitude U.S. health study, found that Black men show measurably dysregulated cortisol patterns driven by chronic cumulative stress of racial discrimination, economic strain, and navigating structural hostile systems. The deregulation is not abstract. It is a direct biological mechanism connecting the social and structural pressures Black men face to elevated rates of cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, premature death. This is literally stress on the body. So when I say your body is keeping score, I want you to understand that in the most literal biological sense, the cortisol that spikes every time you're under financial stressor, the sleep that gets cut short because your nervous system never fully powers down, the inflammation that builds quietly over years of chronic stress. What about that mental fog that makes decisions harder? All of it is connected and all of it is cumulative. And we're going to address that today. But I'm going to give y'all a brief break before we dive into it. Let me break down cortisol, because once you understand what it does, you start taking it seriously in a way that generic stress is bad advice never achieves. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. When your brain perceives a threat, whether that's financial, physical, relational, professional, or racial, your nervous system fires and releases cortisol into your bloodstream. In the short term, this is functional. Cortisol functions, sharpens focus, mobilizes energy, prepares you to respond. That is cortisol doing its job. The problem is when cortisol stays elevated, when the stresses are chronic. And for Black men, navigating the financial pressure, as well as systematic racism and the weight of provision simultaneously, they're often cortisol or never fully comes back down. And chronically elevated cortisol does not just feel bad, it systematically impairs the systems that everything else in your life depends on. It impairs your sleep, High cortisol at night when it should be at its lowest keeps your nervous system alert when it should be resting. You lie down tired, but cannot fully turn off that switch. You wake up feeling like you never recovered. That is cortisol. It impairs cognitive function. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for long-term thinking, impulse control, strategic decision making, and emotional regulation, is directly suppressed by elevated cortisol. Chronic stress makes you worse at exact decisions your financial future depends on. The scarcity loop from episode 5, cortisol is the primary engine of that loop. It impairs physical health. Chronically elevated cortisol suppresses immune function, raises blood pressure, promotes visceral fat storage, accelerates cardiovascular disease, and shortens lifespan. Black men are already face disproportionate rates of hypertension and cardiovascular disease, as well as cortisol dysregulation is a significant biological driver of those disparities. A landmark year-long randomized clinical trial published in the Journal of Sport and Health Science found that regular aerobic exercise produced a clear, measurable reduction in long-term cortisol levels. The lead researcher noted the effect of exercise on long-term cortisol levels could be one of the can't even talk, mechanisms through which physical activity protects against disease and mental health conditions. This is not a general wellness claim. It is specific biological chain reaction. Move your body, you lower your cortisol. Improve everything that cortisol was impairing. So it's like we got to stay active. We got to keep moving. We got to be up. Research says the more we are active in aerobics or working out, lifting weights and things like that, we lower our cortisol levels in the long run. So when I say exercise is a mental health strategy, I'm really not being metaphorical. Movement lowers cortisol. Lower cortisol improves sleep. Better sleep improves cognitive function. Better cognitive function improves every decision you make when it comes to financial, relational, professional. The chain is real and it starts when you moving your body. Now I want to talk about sleep specifically because sleep deprivation is one of the most normalized forms of self-destruction in ambitious culture. We celebrate it. I'll sleep when I'm dead, 4 hours and I'm up. I don't have time to sleep. That is not ambition. That is a slow leak in the vessel you need to carry your ambition. Here's what the science says plainly. Sleep is when your brain consolidates memory, processes emotional experiences, clears metabolic waste, and restores the cognitive resources that decision making depletes throughout the day. It is not downtime, it is maintenance, the biological equivalent of a nightly system update. And when you chronically shortcut it, you are running basically on fumes. You're running degraded. And that's something I had to study myself and get more familiarized with because sleep, I'm like, yo, 4 to 6 hours of sleep, I'm good. But now I've been more consistent on getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep and staying focused on that, being disciplined on that at night because I know how much sleep is very, very key to everything I'm doing when it comes to me working out in the gym, as well as when I'm on my entrepreneur journey. Better sleep, as you know, helps you out overall. In a 2025 umbrella review of sleep research found that insufficient sleep is associated with a 6 to 15% increased risk of death from all causes. Males specifically face a 13% higher risk of all cause mortality from sleep deprivation than females. And sleep deprivation produces cognitive impairment equivalent to being legally drunk, affecting reaction time, decision making, emotional regulation, and working memory. The man who brags about running off of 4 hours is not optimizing. He is operating impaired every single day. And here's a financial connection that I don't want you to miss. Every major financial decision you make, every negotiation, every investment, every business decision is based on your brain. That is either restored or depleted. Sleep deprived brains are measurably more impulsive, more susceptible to short-term thinking, more likely to operate from fear rather than strategy. The scarcity loop runs harder when you're exhausted. The survival posture tightens when your nervous system is depleted. Sleep is not separate from your financial health. It is the upstream of it. 7 to 9 hours, not because it sounds nice, because the research is ambiguous. That is the range where the brain and body restore fully. Anything consistently below 7 is cumulative impairment. The brothers who protect their sleep the way they protect their most important meetings operate differently. They think more clearly, they regulate their emotions better, they make better decisions. Their cortisol stays lower. Their ambition runs on a full tank instead of fumes. Get that sleep, man. 7 to 9 hours. I like to say 7 to 8, but the research shows 7 to 9 hours, seven, the bare minimum. Start prioritizing your sleep, fellas. That is a major key, and you'll see the difference. Do it like do an experiment for I say either a weekend, you like Friday through Saturday, like, okay, I'm getting Friday, Saturday, I'm getting 7 hours of sleep and see what it does to my body. Or even if you're like, hey, I want to do a whole week, Monday through Sunday, and seeing how I operate with 7 to 8 to 9 hours of full sleep. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see a major change. I know I did when I started getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. I'm like, man, I'm grateful for it that now it's a high priority. I set a bedtime for myself. Now I know when we were young, when your parents were like, hey, you got a bedtime. Now I cherish that these days. But start getting more sleep. You'll see the difference. And let me know how it helps you. I'll be right back. Let's talk about movement. And I want to do this without the whole gym bro energy, without the 6 day split, without the conversation that makes somebody who hasn't worked out in nearly 2 years feel like they're already failing before they start. Because the research on physical and mental health is not about perfection. It's about threshold. There is a minimum effective dose, a level of consistent movement that produces measurable improvements in cortisol regulation, sleep quality, mood, and cognitive function. And that threshold is lower than most people think. The American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity movement per week. 150 minutes. That's all. That is literally 21 minutes a day, a 30-minute walk, 5 days a week clears it. Not a gym, not a trainer, not a program, a walk done consistently. And a 2024 systematic review and network meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that regular exercise interventions significantly improve sleep quality across populations, with moderate intensity aerobic exercise showing the strongest effects. The relationship between exercise and sleep quality is bi-directional. Exercise improves sleep, and better sleep supports exercise recovery and consistency. The habit feeds itself once it starts. The hardest part is getting the first consistent week under your belt. And here's what consistent movement does specifically. It reduces cortisol directly and measurably over time with regular practices. It improves sleep architecture. Both the depth of sleep and the ease of falling asleep improve with regular movement. The body temperature drops after exercise, signals nervous system to prepare for rest. It increases BDNF, which is brain derived neurotropic neurotropic factor, which researchers call the miracle growth for the brain. BDNF promotes the growth of new neurons, improves learning and memory, protects against depression and anxiety. Exercise is the most accessible way to elevate it. And it builds the most fundamental form of self-efficacy available. The daily proof that you can commit to your body and follow through. Men who are consistent with physical discipline tend to be more consistent with financial discipline, relational commitments, as well as professional goals. Not because exercise magically creates discipline, but because the same mental infrastructure that gets you to move when you don't want to is the same one that gets you to invest when you're scared, to show up when it's inconvenient, to build when the building is hard. You don't need a perfect program. You need minimum effective dose consistently. Start there. Start with the walk. You want to go walk, start incrementally growing, which is maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day. You're going out to walking or you're going to the gym, something where you're moving your body. The research is there. Consistently move your body 21 minutes a day. We got 24 hours in a day. We should be sleeping for 7 to 8 of them. That gives us roughly 16 hours left. Probably working for another 8. You got 8 full hours to yourself just to do the work, which is exercising for 20 minutes a day. You can probably even get a treadmill at your house and do that. So it's consistently staying up with your working out habits because it helps you out in the long run. But with that being said, here's what I want you to walk away with today. Arc 2, we discussed building the money. We're in Arc 3 now, and we're talking about building the man who can carry what the money requires. Because here's the truth. You cannot sustain the level of building we talked about in Arc 2 from a body that is chronically stressed, underslept, and sedentary. The cortisol will erode your decision-making. The sleep deprivation will impair your thinking. The sedentary lifestyle will compound the chronic stress rather than release it. And the body that was supposed to be a vehicle for ambition becomes the anchor holding it in place. So here's your prescription. I mean this literally, fellas. The same way I meant the homework for at the end of episode 4 this week, not next week, not next Monday, not next Tuesday, this week right here. Pick one thing. Either protect your 7 hours of sleep a night and make that the standard going forward, or move your body for 20 or 30 minutes tomorrow. Walk, lift, stretch, run, whatever you will actually do, one brick by brick. That's all. Because your body, man, take care of your body. Because the body you build, the habit in today is the body that shows up for everything else you're trying to build. It is not separate from the work. It is part of it. Next week, we go into spirituality. Finding faith that actually grounds you, not just performs for you. That one is going to open something up. This is Sana I.E. I'm XO. Take care of yourself, brother. See y'all next week. Like the show, subscribe, send this to a friend. Follow us on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, subscribe to this show on YouTube. We are on there. We on Apple Podcasts. Go to the website, sanaie.com. We are everywhere. If you're not following us on social media, at Sanaie on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that. We are on there. And appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Enjoy y'all week, man. Do the work. Get y'all sleep in this week or get in that exercise. Your body will thank you.